If you understand this sales method, it will help make you millions of dollars, especially if you're a business owner. Driven Mofos, welcome back to an episode of Winning Standards. All right, today I want to talk about sales. I'm just about to do a sales training for a business. This business is in Adelaide. They've got a bunch of different stores around the place, and they've hired me essentially to go in there to help do sales training for their staff. But I want to start with something that's really important, especially if you want to make more money. Sales is influence. So I want you to think about that. Because when people think about sales, they think about extracting money from somebody. And this here is probably the biggest roadblock as to why most people hate salespeople, but also why people don't like being salespeople. Because there's this like negative feeling around sales. The crazy thing is that if you create a banner and it says, sale 20% off, people buy shit. People buy stuff because they love buying. They just don't like feeling like they're being manipulated. And so it's not so much that the sales process or the salesperson is manipulative. It's that a good salesperson helps you to make a better decision. And this is why I created a sales methodology called Decide. Because I really believe that the only thing that is stopping you in your personal life and your business from getting what you want is the decisions you make. And every day when I'm selling, people have to make better decisions. You come to me and you say, I want to grow my business. And I go, great. Well, now's your time to put on your big boy or big girl pants and we're going to make a better decision. Now, most people can't because they're scared, they're afraid. They believe in their fears more than they believe in their goals and their dreams, which is why they stall, or it's also why they put it off. But the reason also why I created this is that the sales industry is really built on tactics. So even though today is Friday on this podcast, I want to get more into systems, processes, strategies, structures, and frameworks. But because I'm a human behavior expert, right? That's my background is human performance, human behavior, influence, leadership, and so on. Building teams, building people. I want to base it around that. And that's why my sales methodology is so good, because when we're working with people, you have to think about the human behavior aspect, not the system. And what I find is that really bad salespeople, they follow a system. Like you can hear someone on the phone who's reading a script. Now, scripts are important, but they're only important for practice. The same as witches' hats or cones when you're training, like if you're playing a sport like football or soccer or whatever you're playing, you put cones out on the pitch, and you put the cones out on the pitch because then you can practice, you can duck and weave and move in and out, but you remove them for the game. So you use the script when you're practicing, but you should be good enough to be able to play the game without the script. And then what you do is use a framework, and the framework essentially is here are the steps, and as long as you cover those steps, then the sale should happen, or the percentage of sales should happen. So you'll know your percentages. So for example, if you get on the phone and you're doing what is known as a triage call, the triage call is essentially qualifying people. The sales call is closing people. Now we run a two-step system in our business, which is triage, qualify people, and then if they're qualified, then they move to the next step, which is sale. But if they're not qualified, we don't even worry about doing a sales call with them because there's just no point. Like if they don't have the money, they're never going to buy. If they can't find the money, they're never going to buy. If they have like a low driver, so for example, people come to me all the time and they go, I'm looking for a coach. And I go, great, why? And they go, I don't know. I don't really know. Like I just sort of want to run my business a little bit better and whatever. Probably not qualified. If you come to me and you say, hey, I want to scale from, we're doing 2 million in revenue now and I want to get to 20 in the next 2 to 3 years. I go, all right, cool. Now you've got a big driver. There's a reason behind why. And I'll normally ask why. Today, when I run through this process or this framework will give you a structure to operate off of. And I think it's probably the best sales methodology, probably because I created it. But I created it because there's a big gap in the industry. Because again, most people run off of a script. Even worse, someone doesn't even have a script and they just wing it. That's crazy. And that's unfortunately what most business owners do is they just go, someone wants to buy a new kitchen. So I'll just go there and I'll quote them. The quote is essentially a sales pitch. If you walk in there and give a quote, all you're doing is you're saying, hey, this is the cost, this is the price. And then the person goes, I'm going to get another 2 quotes because I'm probably going to go with the cheapest. And then what happens is those people call me up and they say, hey, we're getting beaten. We do the best quality work, but we're getting smashed and we're losing a lot of sales because our competitors just are cheaper. Well, here's the thing. Nothing in life is ever cheap, right? It's expensive to be great, but it's also expensive to be shit. And we have to think about that. But most people focus on price. Most people are price driven because they've never been driven by standards or quality. And again, when we do a triage call, what my team are doing is they're qualifying someone. Is this person driven by quality? Is this person driven by price? Is this person driven by goals? Are they ambitious? Do they want to get somewhere? Or are these going to be one of those lazy motherfuckers that don't want to do anything but have these big goals and big dreams and they want the easy life, but yet they don't want to do the work because they're going to be a pain in the ass. So coming back to the decide method, the reason why I created it is because the number one most important thing when you're doing sales is the identity of the person selling it and the transition of the identity of the person or the behavior of the identity who's buying. And I'll run through this and I'll give you an example. Now, again, if you're a car sales rep, and because everyone thinks about those cheesy, sleazy car sales reps they're just going to sell you whatever. If you walk in there and say, hey, I'm looking for a car, and they go, wow, this is the great thing, and it's got this, and it's got these features, and blah, blah, blah. You're probably like a 2 out of 10 when it comes to salespeople. The more you understand people, the more you go up around 6, 7, 8, 9, and even 10 as salespeople. Some of the best salespeople I've ever come across, they're selling you and it doesn't even feel like sales. It feels like they're helping. By the time you walk away, whether you buy or not, you'll thank them. That's great sales. So let's go through this process. So again, sales is human behavior. There are all these salespeople out there who are teaching sales, but they're teaching these frameworks and these structures. But again, if you're not focused on the human element, you will never be great at sales. You'll be okay at sales, but you'll never be great. So let's talk about the DECIDE method. DECIDE is an acronym, and I'll give you all the details of this acronym. So the first thing is the D. The D is define and diagnose, and I'll go through this in a second. Then you go to encapsulate and establish, which is the E. The C is clarify, confirm, and consequence. I is imagine and install a reframe or install the future. Then we describe the outcome or the solution, and then we execute and then create the exchange. So it's DECIDE, and I'll go through each step just quickly. Again, like I said, tomorrow, the reason why I'm giving you this framework is because it's on my mind because I'm building out the whole sales system behind this business, but I've got to go in there and train their team. When I'm training their team, the process and the structure is easy because I'm giving it to you right now. The hard part is changing the person who's selling. Because when you sell, you're essentially selling certainty. Like if someone comes to you and you install kitchens and they say, hey, look, I'm not sure whether I should go with this bench top or this bench top. What do you think? And you go, I don't really know. Well, it depends. Like you could do this, but it's going to be more expensive. But then there's this. You're not installing certainty in the person. If you sit there and you go, okay, well, what are your uncertainties? Like, do you like the color? Do you not like the color? No, I love the color. Okay, so what are your concerns? Well, my concern is on the bench top, is it going to leave marks? So what's happening is you're listening to the person more effectively, and that's why the DECIDE method is so powerful in sales, and this is my method. So let's go through it. And by the way, this is what I'm doing with the sales team tomorrow, is it's really installing their belief in how they sell. It's not selling the product, it's selling their certainty that this is the right product for what the person is looking for. And the reason why I called it DECIDE is because when you make a better decision, you'll feel great about the sale. So D, define and diagnose. So someone walks into the shop. This is what I'm talking about tomorrow, because one of the concerns was that people drive out of their way to go to this shop or these series of shops that this person owns. I won't tell you the trade or the industry that they're in, but there's a bunch of them around the place. So they're not franchised, they're owned by one owner, but there's multiple different locations. People drive out of their way. They walk into the shop, and the first thing the customer service person asks, or the sales rep asks, is they say normally, good morning, how are you? Or good afternoon. And then the next thing that they do is they go, is there anything that I can help with? Well, that's a yes or no answer. So essentially you're throwing a 50-50 confirmation out there. Now, when someone says, is there anything I can help with? You don't want the salesperson. So you normally go, oh no, I'm just looking. So you've lost 50% of your sales ability right there. Like you've just dropped 50%. And then the other 50%, you're like, okay, cool. Well, we hope that it's 50%. It might even be higher. Like most people, maybe it's 80-20. Maybe 80% of people say, I'm just looking. So that's a shitty way of doing business, shitty customer success, shitty sales. So what we do is the first thing that happens is we identify why they walked in. So we're going to diagnose or define why they're walking in. And so we're going to ask a better question straight away. You might say something like, hi, how are you? Are you just looking, and let's say, I'm going to use kitchens again. Oh, are you just looking for a new kitchen? Or are you just looking for tap fittings and sinks? Then what you've done is you've given people two options. It's not a yes or no answer. You've given them two options. I wish I could use the company that I'm working with tomorrow, because I have this exact problem. These people walk in and they ask, can I help? And the person says no. And that's a stall straight away. So again, if the person walks in, are you looking for bench tops or are you looking for a full brand new kitchen? No, I'm looking for a brand new kitchen. Excellent. You're in the right place. Now we've got them. We can get them talking straight away. Perfect. So tell me, what are you looking for? And now the conversation opens up. In sales, there is a rule of thumb. Ask questions, shut the fuck up. Now, I hope there's no kids in the car. If they are, send my hate mail to the team. But I say this all the time when I'm teaching people in leadership. Ask questions, shut the fuck up. Like, just shut your mouth. Don't talk. Because what people do is that they tend to try to sell. Someone comes in and they go, I'm looking for a new kitchen. Oh, great. We've got brand new kitchens over this way. And look, at the moment, we've got this on sale and we've got this and this range is here. The person's sitting there and they're already overwhelmed. Your job is to make them feel calm. So you shut up and you let them talk, because when we talk through things, we tend to create clarity. And what you want is you want the person to have clarity that they're making the right decision. The more confusion they have, the less they are going to buy. And the majority of people, when they walk in somewhere and a salesperson walks up, confuses the shit out of them, because they give them 45 different options, 10 different color palettes, and so they're confused. They go, crap, I've got to remove myself from this situation to be able to think through it so that I can have clarity. So what we do is we ask questions and we shut up. So the first thing we do, person comes in. Good morning, how are you today? They say, good. You go, cool. What can I help with today? And are you looking for kitchens or are you looking for bench tops? Nope, I'm looking for kitchens. Okay, perfect. Tell me, what specifically are you looking for? Well, I'm not really too sure. Okay, perfect. Well, what do you have in mind? Like, just run me through whatever's on your mind at the moment. Well, we've got a house that's this big, and you keep asking questions. You might sit there for 10 to 15 minutes just in that stage, just the first stage of diagnosis. And you keep asking questions. Eventually, you go, this person is looking for a kitchen. They've got a brand new house that they're building. They're looking for a brand new kitchen. You've already asked them, okay, is it for family? Is this a rental property? And you've got a whole bunch of questions in order to help you to clarify it. If you're clear, they're going to be clear. If you're not clear, they are definitely not going to be clear. So you keep asking, is this for a rental property or is this for your family home? No, it's for the family home. Okay, great. Tell me, is this your dream home? It's my dream home. Excellent. Do you have any kids? Yeah, we've got kids. And you keep asking questions, because they say it's dream home. You know that they're going to pay more. They got kids. They're probably going to have this house for a while. Cool. So then what we do is, once we've collected enough evidence and data and we're clear, then what you do is you encapsulate it back and you feed it back to them. So you might ask them other questions like, is price important to you or is quality important? And they say, no, quality is important. Excellent. Okay. Now, just so that I'm clear, and this is the encapsulate part. So in the first stage of D, decide method, we define and we diagnose what is going on. Why are they here? What are they looking for? And we ask a lot of questions. In the E stage, we encapsulate it and we feed it back to them. The reason why we do this is we need to make sure we're on the same page. And when there's an alignment, the person feels heard and they feel understood. This is unfortunately what most salespeople do wrong. And I have this personally happen to me almost on a weekly basis. I go to buy something. I say, this is what I'm looking for. The person goes, oh, here, you've mentioned this and da-da-da-da-da. And I go, no, that's not what I'm looking for. I wanted it this way. And they go, oh, sorry. Well, I feel misunderstood. That creates discomfort. People buy because they feel good. They don't buy because of logic. Everyone thinks they buy because of logic, but very few people ever buy because of logic. People buy because they feel a certain way. And if they feel understood and they feel comfortable, they're probably more likely to buy, especially today. So you establish and you feed it back, or you encapsulate and you feed it back to them. So what you do is you transition into this question or this statement. So just so that I'm clear, what you're looking for is you're looking for a brand new kitchen. It's got to be in the sort of whitish color palette and you're looking for more of a gloss finish. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. And you're looking for better quality, not the cheap stuff. The reason why I say cheap stuff is sometimes you've got to push the two ends apart, because what will happen is sometimes people go, well, I want quality, but I also want price. What you have to do is show that there's a massive difference between the two. If they're similar, people normally go for price. So you say, so just to clarify, you don't want the cheap stuff. And you screw up your face a little bit and they go, oh, no, we don't want the cheap stuff. We definitely want quality. Excellent. And this is for the family home and it needs to outlast the kids, right? Because they're going to open and close the cupboards a lot and things like that. Yes. Okay. And by the way, I'm just making this up. If I was working with a proper business and a proper business owner or a proper team, I would really clarify down what this looks like. But then what we do is after we've encapsulated it, we feed it back to them so that they feel understood. We say, this is exactly what you're looking for. And they go, that's exactly what I want. When they give the yes, you're correct, then you move to the next stage. Every one of these stages is green light, red light. So if you haven't diagnosed properly first, you do not move to encapsulate. You keep asking questions. Now, I've been training some new salespeople in my team, and what I find is that straight away they come in and they try to move through stages too quick. I'll give you an example. Hey, I'm just looking to grow my business. I'm looking for a business coach. I came across Michael's stuff. Oh, great. How long have you been in business for? 5 years. Okay, excellent. And so what made you look for a business coach? Oh, I just need, I guess I just need some help. Like I'm a bit stuck. Oh yeah, cool. So just to clarify, you're looking for a business coach and you feel a bit stuck. Yes. Okay. That's going to hurt you at the end. And I'll tell you why when we get to it. What you need to do is dig deeper. So when someone says, I'm just looking for a coach, yeah, great. But why? Like you're comparing me to 50,000 other coaches out there. Why? Why did you come to me, or why are you in my pipeline? I might ask questions, for example, in the define and diagnose section where I go, okay, cool. So how long have you been looking for a coach for? 2 months. Okay, well, what stopped you making a decision already? Like there's a lot of coaches out there. What stopped you making a decision? Oh, I just don't know the difference between them. Okay, good. Well, what other coaches have you compared to so far? And they might say, I'm looking specifically for a business coach. Well, I'm going to tell you that I'm not a business coach. I'm a human performance coach that works with business owners and teams, because the number one problem that all business owners face at scale is people problems. And the biggest bottleneck in almost every business is the owner or the founder. So if the owner doesn't get their head right, and the owner doesn't know how to understand themselves and have clarity on what they're trying to achieve and align all the areas of their life, not one area, all the areas. Because if your relationship is turning to shit, your business will get that strain. If your health is turning to shit and you are sick a lot, your business is going to get the strain. So if you don't align those areas with what you're trying to achieve, instead of having everything lubricated where it slides through and the business growth happens, you're in deep shit. Everything's going to be clunky and rough as guts. So you can still grow your business, but man, it is going to be painful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend a lot of time diagnosing. Okay, so what made you come across our stuff? Excellent. Have you listened to the podcast? What do you know about me? Do you know who I've worked with? Okay, with the other coaches, what's your concern? Like, how come you haven't bought already? I'm going to sit there and ask you 20 to 50 questions. By the end of it, I know the reason why you're wanting to make the decision, why you haven't made the decision, and so on. Then what I'm going to do is say, okay, so what you're really looking for is X. And they say yes. Now they feel more understood than the other people that they've looked at. That's the encapsulate part. So let's keep moving on. We've gone through define and diagnose, which is the D. Then we go through the E, which is encapsulate and establish. And what we're doing is we are clarifying with that person. Okay. Or we're sort of encapsulating it, because what will happen is clients will go off in 20 different tangents. You have to bring it all together. Then what we do is we go to the C. So we've gone D, E, C. C is clarify, confirm, and then consequence. Clarify, confirm, consequence. So what have you tried? Which is sort of like the encapsulate part as well, and it comes out a little bit in decide. They all sort of flow into each other. But we want to make sure that we've clarified exactly what they're looking for, what they've tried, and so on. Once we've got that, then what we do is we go into the consequence stage. So this is the C. In consequence, you ask a question like, okay, so you've been looking around for 6 months or 3 months. What stopped you from making a decision? They go, well, it's just, we're not really too sure. Like, your price is important. And you go, before they said quality, now they're saying price. If you don't go through these stages, what will happen is that will come up at the end. You'll give them the quote. All of a sudden they're going, it seems expensive. Bang, you probably lost a sale, or now you're in objection handling. The reason why so many sales coaches out there spend most of their time teaching people objection handling is because they don't deal with all this shit at the front end. In my sales methodology, you spend 80 to 90% of your time in the front end, which means you only spend 20 or 10 to 20% of time in the back end, which is the actual sale. If you do a good job, people just sign, or they go, yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and they give you the cash. Very rarely do you have to objection handling. And if you do, it's just mopping up. If you do not get these stages correct, and if you do not spend enough time, I guarantee you're losing tens, hundreds, maybe even millions of dollars. When I say tens, I mean tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars. Sometimes if I'm working with large organizations and I'm teaching them this, sometimes they're losing tens of millions of dollars, right? Depending on how big the company is and how many stores they have and whatever. So we're going to ask consequence questions. So like, what happens if nothing changes? I had this the other day, right? I had a business owner who came to me. He's telling me that he knows he needs help. He knows he's the bottleneck in the business. His phone goes off all day long. He can't go on holidays. There's all these emails coming through. And we go through and he's like, look, I just need help. And I said, look, you've been following me for years. How come not before? And he goes, well, it's just never been a priority. And I said, well, is it a priority now? And he goes, well, yeah. And I said, okay. Now I could have left it there, but I didn't. I said, okay, what happens if nothing changes? Like on the trajectory you're on. And by the way, this is the shit no one thinks about. Like if you keep doing what you're currently doing and everything amplifies, are you going to be happy or are you going to be fucked up in life? Most people don't think about this shit, right? Like a lot of business owners will go, well, yeah, I just have a couple of drinks when I get home. Good. Is that a good decision or a bad decision? Oh, it's probably not that bad. Well, what happens in 20 years' time if that's a habit? Good luck. Your liver's fucked. Your energy is going to be shit. You're going to be tired, burnt out if you don't have cancer or other shit that's going on. Like this is bad. It's not a good decision. But they don't know that because they haven't thought it through. Most people don't think things through. They don't think it through in depth. They worry about immediate gratification, getting out of immediate pain. They don't think about long-term consequences. So in the consequence stage, we're going to ask them those questions. So like, what happens if nothing changes? What happens if you just keep doing what you're already doing? And most times people give you a superficial bullshit answer. Dig deep. You want to hold on to this because if you do this stage well, the rest of the sale will happen so easy. You don't even really get objections because they know that the pain is so bad now that they have to change it because if it keeps going this direction, everything's screwed. So I'll give you an example back to the kitchen. All right, so just run me through, like you've looked at other shops. What's prevented you from buying so far? Well, it's just, we're still not really sure. Okay, do you feel sure now? Well, yeah, I feel a lot better after talking to you. Okay, excellent. Now, what happens if you don't find a kitchen today? Well, nothing really, but it's just everything stalls. Okay, is that stalling you from getting a new dream home? Well, yeah. And is that stopping you from spending more time with your kids and all your family together? Well, yeah. Okay. Is this something that's really important to you? Is it just something that's like a nice to have? No, it's important. Okay. What happens like if you just keep looking for the next 3 months or 6 months? Are you going to be happy with that if you put this off for 6 months? Not really. Okay. It sounds like it's important to you. Yeah, it is. What happens is you're moving them close to that buying line. It sounds a bit ridiculous when I'm going through it, but in flow, they don't even know that you're doing it. What you're doing is you're making the decision more important. Okay, because like I said, most people are indecisive and they're indecisive because in order to grow, you have to make uncomfortable decisions. Because if the decision was comfortable, comfort is essentially knowing what you already know, doing what you already do. People who are comfortable are only ever comfortable because they've got what they already know that they've got. comfort doesn't come from doing new things. Like if you're going to do something new, or you're going to a new location, or you're traveling and it's a new spot, it can feel a little bit uncomfortable because you're not sure. There's a little bit of uncertainty there, a lack of familiarity. Okay. And that's why most people would rather be comfortable, even if things are bad or they suck. Okay. So if you can make them uncomfortable staying in that position, they will move. So that's what we're doing, is we're essentially switching the comfort around. We're making the decision more comfortable for them, because not making a decision is now becoming uncomfortable. So we do the consequence question. Then what we do is we imagine and install the dream outcome. So now we've established the pain, we've encapsulated it, we've gone through the consequence. We go, look, just tell me now, like, you're running me through the kitchen. You want it white. It's going to go in the new home. Kids are running around. Let me know, like, is there anything else you see in that vision? And they go, oh, no, it's all good. Okay, what color are the tap fittings? Oh, they're black. Okay, excellent. So it's like white bench top with black. Yep. What else do you see? Like, run me through, like, what else is going on there? What door handles do you see? What you're doing is you're getting to imagine a dream outcome. Humans move away from pain and they move towards pleasure. So at the start, what we're doing is we're diagnosing and creating clarity. Then we're encapsulating it, feeding it back so they feel understood. Then we move to confirming the consequences, which creates the pain. People move away from pain. But then with the imagine stage, what we're doing is we're installing, which is the I in that as well, is we're installing a greater future outcome. So by getting them to imagine what it looks like and imagine how it feels, if you do it logically and you go, oh, well, just imagine your kitchen, imagine the kids running around, and it sounds very logical, they will overthink it. People buy on emotions, not on logic. So we come back to the I. The goal of the I is to make them emotional. Sales is human behavior. It is not a sales process. Process is logical, but sales is human behavior. People will buy when they feel a certain way. So we get them to imagine the dream outcome so that they feel it, so that they're in it, they smell it. Cool. So in your new kitchen, what's the first thing you're going to cook? Is it like a family meal with all the family and everything like that over? You're going to bring like other family members over and they're like, oh yeah, cool. Now they're imagining all the family being around, the kids running around. They can smell the food being cooked. Yeah, now they're in it. Then what we do is you go, cool. So is there anything else that I need to know before I recommend what I would recommend? Then the next D is describe the solution. So we're describing the solution and we're making a decision. So what we do there is we go, look, here's the kitchen that I would recommend. This is the bench top. These are the tap fittings that you mentioned that you like, the black ones here. Do you like these ones? Yep. Okay. Excellent. And you go through everything. Then what you do is you put all the price together and you go, excellent. Here's the price based on everything that you've told me. And I know that quality is important. That's why I've given you the best quality recommendations. I haven't gone for the top of the range stuff, but what I've done is I've given you the stuff that I would recommend is the best quality to suit a family long-term, and you replay it back. If you do that really, really well, you'll nail the sale almost most of the time, right? If you do a good job. And you'll have a close rate. So everyone has a close rate. If you think that you're going to close 100% of sales all the time, your pipeline's not big enough. If you close 1 in 4, 1 in 5, 1 in 6, you know whatever that close rate is, then you know that if you lose 5, the 6th one is normally, you definitely get 1 in 6. So you need to know your close rate. But after you do that D, then what you do is you execute and exchange. So the execution is, right, what I need you to do now is to sign the contract and let's take care of the payments. What I rarely do on sales is I just say, do you have your card there? Or I'll say, hey, let's put down a deposit. Do you have your card there? What most people do is they say something like, I'll give you this, and when you're ready, just come back in and we can process everything and get things started. What you're doing is you're putting the decision back into the client's hands. What I love to do is like when someone says, yep, I'm ready to go, I go, cool, what are your credit card details? I don't even ask, how would you like to pay for it? I go, what are your credit card details? The less decisions someone has to make, the less likely they are to fuck it up. When I see salespeople, they're like, oh, I'll send you an invoice. Now you've taken something that's like 90% guaranteed and you've now pushed it back to 50%. If you're there and you can take a deposit, they've already made the commitment. I'm going to run an example by you right now as to why this is important. When you're in a restaurant and you get a menu and you start looking through the menu and you see a couple of items that you like, The more you sit there and you think about it, the more indecisive you become and the more frustrated you get, right? When you're indecisive. Now, if someone comes along, they say, oh, cool, what are you looking at? And you go, oh, I don't know whether the chicken or whether I want the pasta or I'm not really too sure. I'll give you another 5 minutes. Well, all they've done is they've just made the decision hard for another 5 minutes because you're going to sit there and keep doing the same thing, right? The trajectory of the decision isn't getting any closer. This is also why I love working with highly decisive people. My business partners in the businesses that I've worked with and invested in, whether it's Sustainable Concrete or the 2 tech companies that I've got over in the US, the reason why I'm part of those teams is because those people are decisive. And I know that even when they make the wrong decision or when mistakes are made, they will get out of it quick because they can make a decision. If you make a fast decision and it's the wrong decision, you can make a fast decision to recorrect it. If you make slow decisions, you have a habit of making slow decisions. Therefore, when there's a problem, you're probably going to make a slow decision, which is going to waste time, and time is money, so you're going to burn cash. I don't like working with indecisive people and slow people because they are going to churn cash, they are going to burn time, and they will normally destroy their own self-worth and their own self-value because the longer you leave something that's a problem, the worse it gets. So the last thing that you want to do when someone's there and they're about to make a decision is give them the opportunity to take time. You want to get them to make a decision because the moment they make a decision, the moment the pressure's off. Let's go back to the restaurant. You're in the restaurant and you go, look, I don't know whether I want the pasta or I want the steak. And the waiter says, look, the steak, I've had it yesterday, absolutely amazing. It's Wagyu, it's Japanese Wagyu, we've imported it in, it's dry aged, like, oh man, your mouth is going to water. And you're like, done, I'll take that. The moment you make that decision, the moment the pressure's relieved, most people don't know this. They think that if I have more time to think about things, the better the decision I'm going to make and it's going to remove the pressure. That's the dumbest point. Pressure expands, and the moment you make the decision is the moment that it relaxes. What most people do is they build up to the pressure point and then they shit their pants and all of a sudden they go, oh, I need to remove myself from the decision. And they go, I need to think about it, and they back away from it. They still haven't made the decision. Nothing's moved forward. Nothing's progressed. Nothing's growing because you're not making the decision. All that's happened is you've relieved the pressure, but the pressure is the thing that's going to create growth. Only when you make that decision do you progress and the pressure is relieved. Sitting on the fence only hurts your ass. And most people are so indecisive. That's why I choose not to work with a lot of people. Because if you're going to fuck around and think about things for ages, the likelihood that you're going to be successful is very low. I would rather work with some skidsed out person who doesn't think through decisions properly than work through someone who overthinks through decisions. Because the person who makes fast decisions, yes, they'll stuff up a lot, but they're likely to get themselves out of it quick because of their decision-making skills, and they move. That's why I love working with people with ADHD, because they move, they make shit happen, and they learn fast. Someone who sits there and they're over-analytical and they overthink things, those people are so slow, and they never really get to where they want to get to. Good decisions are made from making bad decisions and learning from them. So the faster you make decisions, the faster you learn, the faster you grow, and the faster you keep progressing. So we've gone through the describe and we're going to make a decision. The person says, yep, I'm ready to move forward on the kitchen. You then say to them, okay, excellent. Well, here's the price. What I'll do now is I'll take a $500 payment now so we can get everything set up. I can then take you through and we can start to organize when everything gets delivered and anything like that. How would you like to pay for that? Most of the time, the person will say, I don't know, just put it on the credit card. Boom. Once that $500 is down, bang, you've got the sale. The confirmation is done. The person then gets the relief and they walk out of there and they're like, oh, wow, that's good. I've been sitting on the fence for like 3 months and I haven't made a decision. Wow, I feel good about it. You sit there and go, great. We've moved them forward. We've progressed them and we sold them the thing that they actually wanted. Salesperson wins, business wins, person wins, customer wins. That's how you create raving fans. So let me go through the model again. D, define and diagnose. Why are they there? Why are they reaching out? Why now? You're going to ask all these questions. Then once you've gathered all the information, all the data, which depending on whether you're doing a triage or whether you're doing a sales call, this could be like 10, 20, 30% of the call. Then what you do is you encapsulate it and you feed it back. And you go, okay, so now that I understand it, this is the problem. This is what you're looking for. They go, yes. Then you go, excellent. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through the consequences. So like, what are your key concerns? What happens if nothing changes? What if you don't do it today? And you're essentially driving them into, if we don't make a decision today, things are just going to keep going around in circles and nothing's going to change. Then from there, we imagine, what does it look like when the dream outcome's established, or the thing that I want, when I get it, how's it going to feel? If you do that well, then we're at the decide. So we're going to make a decision. Here's what it is. Here's what you get. Here are the bonuses, whatever. And then the last thing is you execute the sale. So you just ask for the cash and then we're done. If at the execute, you start getting objections are normally a consequence of not having a strong enough front end. So whatever happens at the back end is a consequence of the front end. When someone says, oh, look, it's expensive, that's because you didn't handle the price objection at the front. When someone says, I didn't have the time, you didn't handle that at the front. So when someone comes to me and they're like, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so burnt out, I'm a business owner and I'm stressed. At the front end, I go, okay, well, look, you're wanting to join my Odyssey program, right? And they go, yep. And I go, do you understand that right now you're the bottleneck in your business? And unless you learn new skills, unless you create your new identity, and unless you gain a lot of knowledge and put yourself in the right environment where there's winners and where you feel that you can trust others and where you build your network, can you see that you're not going to get out of trouble? Like this, you're just going to keep going around in circles. You've been trying this for the last 3 years and nothing's changed, right? And they go, yep. And I go, well, you do understand that there's a time commitment. And they go, yeah. Okay, are you 100% committed to giving at least 2 to 4 hours a week to work on your business from where you're at right now? Like if we do this today, I want to know that you're committed to 2 to 4 hours a week. And they go, yes. Now what happens is they don't come up with a time objection at the end. If they haven't thought through that, they have to stall. Almost all objections are just stalls. Very rarely does someone say, like, I have it all the time. Oh, it's expensive, I don't have the money. How did you pay for your house? I went and got a bank loan. Oh, so you didn't have, you mean you don't have 800 grand sitting in the bank? Well, no. Now, I don't say this, but this is just, what happens in my head and when I'm training people. You don't have 800 grand in the bank? Well, no. Okay, so how did you buy your house? And they go, well, I went and got a loan from the bank. And I'm like, huh. See what I mean? Most people don't think. They think. They're saying, I want to grow my business, but they can't figure out how to get cash, yet they figured out how to buy a house. Which one's going to make them more money? The house that they live in, or the business that if they start getting things right is like a massive accelerator pedal that when they crank it, it grows and scales. Like you take a business owner. I was just talking to one of the guys that I worked with yesterday who owns a roller shutter company. He started with us at 1.1 million in revenue. Yesterday when I spoke to him, he's come out to 12 months. He's done 2.4 million. That's 1.3 million. He's over doubled his business in 12 months. Tell me that happens in property. Very rarely, not unless you're doing renovations or, if you're going to commit to a couple of years here in Australia to do a development or something like that, maybe. Okay. But business is the fastest way to wealth. If you have a look at all the greatest wealth creators, they grew businesses. Even all the spruikers out there who are spruiking property, they make all their money in business telling people how to buy property. And then they take the cash from teaching others how to do the investment strategies that they use. And then they take that money and they go and invest it in property. So their investment strategy is a long-term play, but the cash flow growth comes from business. It's crazy. Again, most people don't think about this stuff. Okay. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't buy property, but I'm just saying that business is a far greater path to wealth than what property is in almost all cases. Not all cases, but in almost all cases. So now you've gone through this whole decide method. You now have a framework in any business of any size where you can sell things. Now, depending on the industry and depending on the clients you're working with, you have to look at things like your tonality, how you approach them. If you've got parents coming to a childcare center and they're not sure whether they want your childcare center or some others, you still use the decide method, but you just have to use your tone differently. You don't push them hard. I work with a lot of business owners. Those business owners, if they're driven, highly ambitious, I'm going to push them because I want to see, are they really growth driven or not? So I test everybody. If not, I'd just rather not work with them. Like if you're a slapper of a business owner, I don't want to work with you. Like if you're too slow making decisions, don't want to work with you. If it's going to take you 6 months to sit there and think about it and you're an overthinker, I'd just rather not work with you because in 12 months time, you're going to have very minimal growth. Whereas the people who get large growth are those who it's almost like throwing fuel on a fire that's already burning. It just amplifies it. And that's what I love. So you can use the decide method in any industry, in any sales process. And don't think that anytime you're asking for money, it's not a sales process. In fact, we sell all the time. If you're going out for a coffee, you're selling. Like I might say to Jess, do you want to go and have a coffee? If she says, oh, I don't know, that's a sales process. Now I'm selling to her to get what I want. I think that sales is one of the most underestimated tools on the planet, which is why most people aren't leaders, they're followers, because someone else was able to better sell them on a better idea. And that's why they follow. So the better you get at sales, the more money you're going to make, the better life's going to be, the more fun you're going to have, the faster your business is going to grow. So yeah, hope you've enjoyed this framework. Anyway, Driven Mofos, if you haven't rated and reviewed this podcast, please do so. You can go back. Make sure you watch this on YouTube. It's live on YouTube, so you can jump on there. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I drop a whole bunch of other episodes on there as well, so you can watch it. Or jump across onto other platforms like Spotify. You can watch it or you can listen to it on Apple Podcast app or any of the other great platforms as well. Driven Mofos, have a great day. Keep kicking ass, and I'll see you on the next episode. Most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them.